Yo, what's up, guys? It's Lugo back with a video for the first time in about 4 years or so. Um, and I mean, if you're watching this video, you are either one of my friends who knows me, and if you don't know me, I kind of want to share my stats before getting into it because you've obviously seen the title, and I think it's going to be informative on how I plan to lose, and I want you to know my stats before we get into it. So I am currently 23 years old, 5'9.5", and my current weight as of today, like 2 hours ago, is like 251. So like 1151, about 340.6. So I currently have about 140 pounds to lose. And in the background, it's just gonna be me training at home. it's yeah, it's kind of bunk. The setup is not very clean. Doesn't look very good, but it gets the job done. I just recently started to train again this past week. This is the first week footage. But as far as losing weight, I've been losing for about a month and a half or so. I started around, or no, I started on March 1st, and I was 375.6. So as of today, actually, I'm 35 pounds down in the last month and a half. And so a good amount of it's probably, water retention, and, just losing some base bloating and stuff like that. But, as of today, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, I've already lost 35 and I feel pretty, I mean, as light as you could feel being over 300, right? Like, and the weights here are not very impressive right now because I haven't lifted in over 2 years. And I'm not trying to sit here and like blow my elbows out. On the first pressing day I had back, I thought I like already fucked my elbow up, but it turns out that it was just a little tweak, and so I just made sure to be careful again on the next pressing day. But I kind of want to get into here what my plan is to lose, 140 pounds because I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty lofty goal, especially since the time frame that I'm giving myself is around 9 months. So that is like, I don't know. Let me calculate it real quick. 140 divided by 9 is 15 pounds. So it's about 15 pounds a month for the next 9 months, which is, honestly, it doesn't seem too lofty when you think about it per month, but overall, it's definitely going to get harder as the months go on. But essentially, the biggest component to losing weight always is going to be caloric deficit, right? Whether that's created through calories or through energy expenditure. And so, right now, I am in a deficit about 5 days a week. So I'm eating about 1,850 calories Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday I'm eating 3,250. And the purpose of that is really to just like eat up on the weekends, like just to make sure that the fat loss doesn't stall, but as well as just like sanity. Because I'm in large enough deficit during the week where I don't really have to be in that much of a deficit on the weekends to still see the amount of progress that I want to see. Um, and I'm not too sure where my actual maintenance is. This could end up being a deficit, but so far it seems like this is like true maintenance for me. Like 3250 um, is pretty spot on right now. So it's about 1,600 calorie deficit that is created through calories, and it is very steep. Like it's not very hard now because I have so much fat on my body that the amount of energy that I get from fat being like the fat storage is very high. Beginning of diets are always the easiest for like the majority of it because you have so much extra fat storage that gets converted into energy that you just feel good. It's really when you start to get down to like the last 50 pounds where it's like, you're like burning through the fat, or you've already burned through a majority of the fat, especially when you're extremely overweight like I am right now, where it starts to get really hard. So right now I'm just cruising, not very hard. Energy is high. Um, you know, and as far as the food that is in the diet, it's not good. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not very good. Like uh, it's a lot of like frozen food and just stuff that would be around home, mostly just because I am a bum as of now. I do not have a job, or else my diet would be consisting of mostly like protein, high quality protein like beef, eggs, yogurts and stuff like that, and then some carbohydrates, but mostly like protein and fat. Which I mean, I do plan to get a job at some point. It's just kind of rough out here. Um, but for now, it is just that, and it's not honestly like a huge deal because I'm still getting like at least some protein, and by some I mean like 110 to 130 a day, which is like extremely low for how much I weigh, but it's better than nothing, really. And at the end of the day, my main goal is to lose weight. So as long as I'm, shedding the pounds, that's all that really matters. Because I know that when I reach the end of this and I'm, my goal weight, I'll be able to rebuild rather easily. I know how to train, I know how to eat, and I know what to do to get big. I mean, besides being fat, like actually having muscle, right? So I think it'll be easy. The goal is just to lose weight, and the only reason I'm even lifting is just because it like I want to at least have some muscle right when I get there, so that I don't look like just skinny fat. Uh, yeah, because nobody wants to be skinny fat. So that's really like my diet, I guess you could say. Not very interesting. It's kind of boring, and really it's not that great. But the biggest thing that matters is caloric expenditure, right? And from that, I am also doing 10,000 steps daily, and that's in form of like walking. Currently, I'm walking on a treadmill, although I should be walking outside. It's just that it's like summer here in California, and it's like very hot. So you step outside, you're getting scorched, right? Like it is rough. So I'm usually walking inside, and I'll try to split it up into 2 30 minutes a day, or 35. But if I'm like really just trying to hammer it out, I'll just do like an hour on the treadmill and just walking like 3 speed. um which I guess it is cardio, but like if I were just to be walking outside, like really the goal is just 10,000 steps. Like I don't really track it on the treadmill. It's just 10,000 steps on the phone, which is not very accurate, but it is what it is. Really, it's just like a rough estimate, and that's like my only modality for cardio because I don't really want to do any other cardio, and I don't really have to because most of the calorie deficit is coming from my diet and from the 10,000 steps. Like it's more than enough. And if I had to add some, I would do like incline treadmill, maxed out on for like 20 minutes. But as far as it goes, I probably won't be doing that, just because this is sufficient enough. And if I were ever to stall out for long enough, I would just maintenance for like a few weeks to a month, just to get my my insulin sensitivity back up, so that I'm not just like eating and it's just not doing anything. So that's really all I'm doing for cardio, I guess you could say, which is it's not really even cardio at all, in my opinion. It's really easy, light, and it's honestly enjoyable. Like I just really watch podcasts, TV shows, whatever I feel like while I'm doing it, and it's really goes by rather fast. Um, so now we're gonna get into the fun part, which will probably take up the rest of the video, but training. And as you see here, I'm doing a variety of stuff, right? So currently I am doing a 6 day split, or I guess eight. It's like on an 8 day schedule. So it's day 1 through 3, push, pull, legs in that order, right? Or push A, push B, push A, pull B, legs A. I take a day off on day 4, which is like the first week it's going to run on Thursday. And then Friday would be push B, Saturday would be pull B, and then Sunday would be leg C or legs B. Fuck. And then Monday would be off. So that just basically means that I'm taking a day off after 3 days, right? So after every push pull legs cycle, I would be taking a day off. So it ends up running on an 8 day split, and then after the last day of the second, round of push pull legs, I'm restarting from the first week, right? And if I need to, I will take another day off after the first day if I'm like really beat up, like this week, the first week. I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Thursday I took a day off. It was my day off, and then Friday came around and I was supposed to press again, but I was feeling like super sore because it's my first week back. So I was like, I'm just going to push it back. And so I pressed Saturday. I pulled yesterday. And then today I'm going to be finishing my legs for this training week. And then tomorrow I'm going to rest. And the day after I'll be doing push A again from the first week. So I won't be doing week 2 essentially until Wednesday. But that's really how I like to set it up, because I don't really go from week to week. I kind of go from session to session, trying to maximize recovery between sessions so that I can get the most out of my training. And I think that that's something that I've only recently liked to do until, before I stopped training before, and when I was training consistently, like in 2021, I was trying to maximize recovery between sessions, because I was never a really good presser. And so me, coming into a pressing session super sore was not really beneficial for me to just be stacking fatigue, because I would just be getting weaker pressing sessions when I could just take a day off and then just get a stronger session for my upper body. Because I've always been bigger framed, I mean, as you could see, but like in terms of actual muscle in the upper body, it's kind of lacked a lot. So I always feel that I need to get as much rest between upper body days, pull to pull, push to push, to really maximize the amount that I'm getting from each session. So that is my 8 day split, as I like to call it. 6 day split, 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off, and then reset into the next week. But essentially, the layout of my program is pretty simple, right? Like, it's not optimal for hypertrophy in some ways, I guess, because if you really want to be optimal and for your leverages, you'd be doing machines and stuff that's really going to completely target the optimal area for hypertrophy. So if you want to target chest, you'd probably be in a fixed position. I'd probably be using the spinning machine for a flat press or an incline press or a shoulder press, but I really just like doing barbells. Like, I like doing squat bench and then some sort of hinge, which I can't really do deadlifts here because I don't have like rubber mats. I'm not trying to go way too long. And also, like, I only have 2 bars. One of the base for bench, one of the base for squat. I don't really want to fuck one of the ones that use up and yeah, they're on both pull days. So one's on one pull day and the other one's on another. And then my second round of movements is our you know accessory movements to the squat, bench, and deadlift, right? So I would be doing something like, at home, a close grip bench, a pause squat, and like an RDL or a good morning. The first day would be RDL, and the second would be good morning. Um, and really, honestly, because I'm like just a natural like power lifter since I started lifting, and so I just really enjoy training this way. Whether you want to consider it power building or not, which is really isn't, because I'm not strength training at the moment. Like, all my reps are above 8. I don't have any reps that are really under 8, besides maybe like one exercise, but it's all tens, 8s, 10s, and 12s on everything. And on the main compound lifts at the moment, it's all 10 reps. Bench is tens, squat, dead, like RDLs are tens. All my accessory movements are tens or above. So it's really just hypertrophy, and this is what people have been doing for ages. Whether it's really optimal or not doesn't really matter to me, because it's always made me grow very well, and if I'm going to be honest, like, I think that I would enjoy a more bodybuilding style approach at, like, when I was training at the gym, if we had better pressing stuff, but we do not. The best pressing machines we have at our, like, one of my local gyms is like a hammer strength press machine and like hammer strength stuff, which is like, I mean, it's okay, but if I'm gonna be honest, it's not really that great. I would rather just do a barbell bench or a dumbbell bench at that point, because to me it would just be better stimulus for me. Um, but stability aside, I just really enjoy doing barbell movements, dumbbell movements, and then obviously some cable stuff, some machines as far as it goes. Like, so my program is structured around squat, bench, and deadlift, but I do a large amount of accessory movements, as you could see. Like, after my pressing days, I'm doing, you know, another chest exercise, usually another push. So anything that's not with a barbell, dumbbells would be included, or, a close variation or a farther one like incline bench, any sort of press, maybe a machine press if I want to do it. Um, and then after that, I would do some sort of chest isolation, any form of fly, really. Mostly just because I think flies are really good after doing a lot of pressing, to really just sit here and get some extra volume on the chest. Whether it really contributes to having a stronger bench, I think it does, but some people would say it's just fluff work, volume that doesn't really matter. In my opinion, I don't think that's true. I think that any amount of chest size that you could add is going to contribute to being able to keep your position more locked in and more pop off the chest. So after all the chest stuff, I do shoulder pressing, because nobody wants small shoulders, and I've heard a lot of people say that you don't really need a lot of direct shoulder training, which I just don't agree with. I think especially for a natural lifter like myself, it's very important to build a strong base and foundation for your shoulders, even with all the chest pressing that you're doing. I think it's just going to make your shoulders better. It's going to keep them healthier, and direct shoulder training, in my opinion, is very crucial for not only health and looking good, but just like it's having a stronger bench, right? Like, it's just going to get you through that mid range sticking point so much better. Like, you have a better chance of fighting through when you get stuck in the middle of the lift versus you just die out. You could just muscle it through a little bit better. But after that, I do two tricep movements, which is, maybe for some people a lot, but after pressing, your triceps really are a muscle that can take a good pounding, no diddy, and really just you can just hammer a lot of volume in. And so I usually do maybe a push down, a folding press, or like a skull crusher, a JM press, some overhead movements, single, double, or bilateral, unilateral, tricep movement, followed, by ending the session with laterals. And usually I'll do a cable or a dumbbell or maybe like a machine if I'm at the gym. But at home, it's usually just a dumbbell, or the kettlebells that I have. And then I'll just go all the way to the top, make sure I get a good, nice stretch, and then, lower it down slowly. Moving on to squat. Uh, Outside of the actual main squat, I'm always going to do an accessory squat. So again, any machine squats, hack squats, pendulum squat, belt squat, not goblet squat, fuck goblet squat, shit movement. It's really just taxing your upper body in terms of that, and you're always going to use more when it comes to, your legs. You're going to need much more than just that, in my opinion. So I don't do those. Fuck those. Um, so any bilateral squat movement that is not a barbell squat. And then after that, I do a unilateral squat pattern. So any lunge, Bulgarian split squat, reverse lunges, just a regular split squat with barbells, reverse elevated or rear foot elevated split squat, which is just a Bulgarian. Anything that's going to work one leg at a time, single leg press. I think that it's important not only for balance but for, just power in the squat. I think it's important to be able to work one limb at a time and get really proficient in that. In my opinion, I think it's very beneficial. So I usually do that, followed by a hamstring curl. So on my back days, I think it's the lengthened position. So any hinge movement, good morning, deadlift, RDL, stiff leg. And then on my actual like leg days, I do, damn boy, I do a ham curl. So the shortened position, that'll be single ham curl, seated ham curl, laying, anything of that sort, really, just to get a little bit more work and isolation into the hamstrings, followed by, all the other stuff that I push to the end of the workout. Calves, usually. I think doing calves promotes healthy ankles and tibia. I think it's just good. If you don't like to do them, that's fine. But in my opinion, it really does help to move your ankle around, get a really nice deep stretch at the bottom, bring your heel down below the start point and really stretch your calf out. It feels absolutely horrible the day after. You can't really walk, but in my opinion, after that initial soreness and stiffness, you end up feeling a lot better and stronger and more mobile in your ankles, in my opinion, at least for me. And after that, I do, some sort of back extension, which these will usually be in and out depending on how sore my lower back is. Because your lower back is another one of those muscles that can take a lot of a beating, but I can't really do as much volume in the deadlifts or hinging movements as, say, something like a back extension, because it's just so much more taxing. So if I feel like I want to get in more volume for my lower back and just promote more blood flow, and honestly it just makes my lower back feel good, I'll do GHR back extensions at the end of my squat days before my rest days, just to, get more blood flow and make me feel better, as well as abs. I know. Wow. People on the internet, abs are made in the kitchen. Fuck that noise. Abs, if you're trying to be a functional strength athlete or anything that's not just a bodybuilder, even a bodybuilder, you should be training abs or core. Even if you're fat, even if you're a twig and you already have abs, I think that having a strong core is essential to everyone ever. It is the one of the best things that you could do. but it is important to know what ab movements that you should be doing. And the ones that I do are my favorites, and in my opinion, some of the best ones you can do, right? Like I like to do hanging leg raises on my, you know, deadlift days right before I deadlift, and on squat days I like to do GHR abs, you know, and really like stretch out my abdomen. And I like to do them before the lifts because it helps me to promote bracing, which in the squat I've always struggled with getting a good brace. So activating and doing abs before my squat is gonna it helps a lot to really get sufficient bracing in the squat for me. So I like to do them. You know, if you're a lazy sack and you don't want to do them, tough it up, bro. You should just do them. They are very good. And I think that even if you're someone who does all these lifts, I think that it could still be beneficial to have them in your training as far as it goes. Like, because it's just going to make you stronger. Nobody ever said I have my core is too strong, right? You know, maybe you're scared of your abs being overdeveloped, but if you're trying to train for strength, that should never be an issue. You can never get your core too strong. And it's just going to only add to your training, in my opinion, as far as it goes. So I do core 4 times a week, twice, once on back days each, so twice, and then once on leg days each. Hanging leg raises on back days, on deadlift days, and then GHR abs on squat days. And then sometimes I'll do decline or planks or something. I would do ab wheel if I could, but I mean, ab wheel's the hardest ab exercise ever. That thing is impossible. So if you could do an ab wheel, props to you, but it's hard. Um, and then as far as my pull day goes, I do it in a very peculiar way. So I'll usually have a pulling movement or a hinge movement, I guess you could say, whether that's going to be a deadlift, a good morning, an RDL, something that's a primary hinge movement that targets the lengthened position of the hamstring, which is going to be my primary movement for the day. And then followed by what I like to call a back sandwich, which is I like to structure my back training on 2 different days very differently, right? So I have 2 days. One day will be a horizontal focus, and the other day would be a vertical focus. And what that means is essentially on the horizontal focus, I'm going to start off by doing a row into a pull down, a pull up, anything in the vertical plane, back to a row. So any other chest supported row, a seal rows, uh, barbell rows, dumbbell rows, anything in the horizontal plane. And then on the second day, I'll do the inverse. So I'll do a pull down, a row, and then another pull down or a pull up or anything in those planes. And those would be the 2 separate days. That way I can, equally target my back and make sure that it is growing at an even rate. And then if I, you know, before I would have a weaker mid back, and so my traps and rhomboids were lagging, I would maybe switch one of those days to have more rowing than I would be pulling, like pulling down. Just because I really want to work weaknesses and make sure that I keep the strengths as well. So I would usually target it that way to make sure that I'm growing evenly, so that I could avoid having weaknesses in the first place. But that's just how I like to structure my back training. I found that it's helped me develop a really good upper back. Nothing special, but I feel always have felt my back was one of my stronger muscles in terms of looks and also strength. Uh, yeah. Also, pull downs, pull ups, or pull overs if you have, if you could do. We're back because the last recording ended. But any pullover that you have, or if you're blessed like my gym, a pull over machine. Or you could do dumbbell pullovers. I'm not a huge fan of those. I don't really like them, but you can do them. But I would always prioritize a cable pullover with a straight bar or a rope. Ideally with the straight bar, because you get, I feel like you just get a better stretch overall in the lats. Really making sure that you bring it all the way up over and like do like a prayer type thing. If you can kind of visualize that. Um, but that's basically the back training, and then moving on from there, I usually do two bicep movements, um, which usually consists of an isolation bicep movement. So this could really be anything, something that stretches it out a lot, which would either be a cable curl, single cable curl, slightly behind your torso. So your arm would be leaning backwards on the cable, and you would basically be letting it stretch your bicep out, keeping your arm locked into place, and then contracting it in that stretched position, letting it down, stretch out again. Awesome. Dumbbell incline curl, uh, dumbbell preacher curls, or just on a wall, keeping your arm locked into place. Dumbbell curls I don't really enjoy, but if you can do them, sure. So any like unilateral bicep movement, I just really like to start off with to make sure that my biceps are firing evenly, because sometimes I feel like one arm is working a little bit harder than the other. So I just like to do unilateral before to get it on an even footing. And so then my second movement would be a bilateral bicep movement. So any easy curl variation, close grip easy curl, close grip preacher easy curl. I don't use a barbell, just a regular barbell, because it really strains my forearms and it just doesn't feel good. So I just don't do it. I think the easy curl is just a better version of that, and I will stick to that forever. Any preacher curl machines, cable, plate loaded, awesome. Um, Cable curls are awesome. Anything that's you're using both of your arms to really get the maximum amount of progressive overload potentiation for the biceps is honestly awesome. And my arms grew a lot doing this personally, because I've always had lagging arms. They've always felt small and looked small, but when I started to do my arm training in this style, where I would do like maybe a sort of pump or pre-activation, which it's not really a pre-activation because I'm actually doing working sets on it, but like any unilateral bicep movement, really making sure to stretch and contract it in one arm first, and going into a bilateral bicep movement has helped my arms go a lot, making sure that they're both like firing on even cylinders, and everything is good. But moving on from biceps, I usually finish off with some sort of rear delt work, because I think that every muscle group should be worked at least a little bit, not only just for it being big, even if it's worked through another range of motion, but honestly, I think that you should just get blood flow in all your muscles. I think it promotes health. I think you know I've always gone with the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it, and I think that that is equally as you know real for any body part, right? You really don't want anything to atrophy, and even if it's not going to, because you're doing some sort of row variation for the rear delts that helps it. I think isolation is always good. You could always do a little bit of isolation, and it shouldn't hurt your overall volume, as long as you're not sitting here pounding out 40 sets of rear delts a week, or 50 sets of rowing, and then you're throwing on some rear delt work. I but for rear delts, I usually like to do any sort of cable. You could do set it up high, go high, and then bring it down low, like in a diagonal line. You can go low to high, where you do the inverse, right? Start low, diagonal line into high. Um, any sort of face pull with a rope, with a strap. Um, Rigged up flies, but in a very peculiar way, right? it's hard to kind of set up a rear delt fly machine if it's not a good one. But you essentially want to protract your scapula and your rear delts forward on the machine, and then really bring out your rear delts and bring them behind your torso, and that's gonna really like fry your rear delts insanely hard. Like that is a very good stimulus for rear delts. But that's pretty much all it is. I feel like a lot of rear delt movements involve the scapula to a good extent because that's the function of it. So I think that anything that you find that can really just be beneficial to you would be very greatly appreciated. But that is essentially the layout of my program. If that was a cohesive amalgamation of words that I just babbled on for like the last 20 minutes, if you understand any of that, I'm glad you, because sometimes my brain is racing so fast that I can't even understand what I'm saying. But if you got something out of that, I greatly appreciate you watching and maybe enjoying the video. That is my plan, to lose over 140 pounds in 9 months, and this is just my first week into lifting again. It's about to be close up my second month trying to actually lose weight. Started March 1st. It's about to be May 1st in a few days here, about 2 days. So it'll mark 2 months since I started. I'll be about 35 pounds down in 2 months. And if the trend continues, I'm right on track with where I need to be. I don't want to say anything currently because I'm really stirred on sticking to my goal, but it's just the shooting range. If I get within 20 to 30 pounds of that goal, I'll be happy. Really, my main goal is to get down as much as I can within the 9 months, just getting my body weight down, down, down. Anything within 200 to 225, 230 would make me, very happy. And as long as I can, rebuild a decent amount of my strength, right? Like I have certain standards that I want to meet within these lifts and my strength goals, I'll be happy. I'm not going to expect to sit here and set, PRs losing a substantial amount of weight, but I'm still holding myself to a higher standard with these, so it's going to be tough, but I've lost a lot of weight before. So it's nothing that I haven't experienced. And honestly, it's rather easy to actually do it. The problem is when you start thinking ahead and you realize how much time you have down the line. Like there's about 9 months down the line until I get to where I want to be. And I cannot speed it up at all. I just have to take it day by day, every day, doing my steps, eating what I need to be eating, make sure I'm not overeating, and training. And then I take that day by day, and eventually, 9 months down the line, I'm going to be exactly where I want to be. As long as I stick to my guns, I know exactly what I'm doing is going to get me exactly where I want to go. And I think knowing that and having that confidence to stick to what I need to do is really going to make sure that in 9 months, I'm, you know, 200 pounds. So that's just the mindset I have going into this, and understanding it's going to be a long road, and just making sure that I'm sticking to it. I'm doing it. I'm getting better, improving, trying to get back to where I need to be, and that's it. But if you enjoyed this video, you got anything useful out of it, got any motivation, I'm glad. If you would like to like the video, if you liked it, like the video. If you didn't like it, dislike it, leave a shitty comment. Don't really care. Subscribe if you want to. And I'll see you guys next week for another recap. Thanks. Bye.